All right, y'all. Welcome back. Today we're going to be listening to Kirk Herbstreit on the Try That in a Small Town podcast. He's going to be talking about Tennessee quarterbacks, and we will be breaking down Tennessee's quarterback room heading into fall camp very soon. So I thought that it was a good time for us to go on ahead and listen to this. But he's going to be talking about Peyton Manning and also Nico, some of the situations that went on with him, and Joey Aguilar and how he thinks that he's going to be fitting into Tennessee's system in 2025. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. The first thing that I want to talk about, we won't be listening to this part of it, but Kirk, he's always on this soapbox about SEC programs and fans cheering for other SEC teams. I'm not one of those people. Let me know if y'all are one of those people. But for me, I don't cheer for any other SEC team during the regular season unless, number one, they're playing up against Georgia, or number two, it's going to help with Tennessee's strength of schedule. So outside of that, man, playoff time, I'm cheering against every single SEC team. To me, it feels like every program hates Tennessee. I hate most programs, not every single one of them, but that's just where I stand with it. And as we go throughout, y'all also leave y'all's thoughts down in that comment section.
I want to see if you can help settle let's say a heated debate that Tully and I had on the last episode. Hadn't came out.
So this guy here that's asking this question, he's a Tennessee fan. The guy, the next guy that's going to come up, he's a Georgia fan.
Oh, yeah, but it will probably soon.
Oh, I knew. I know where you're going.
But I want to know because
I know where you're going.
So he's a Georgia fan, I think, by way of his wife, something like that. But he's just like your typical nuisance, sort of a casual Georgia fan.
Because
I know where you're going with this.
Tully studies, quarterbacks and stuff like that. And he considers himself an analyst. And so that's not a bust, because you do follow quarterbacks that go for a lot, much more than I do. So
I can't believe you're doing this.
You speak well.
So the Pats came up and Tom Brady, and he really went on a rant about Tom Brady. I wasn't saying anything because Tom Brady's great. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, after we had already disagreed on a couple other things, he said, oh, and Peyton Manning, he's overrated. I'm like, where did that come from? why all of a sudden are we busting on Peyton Manning? So
this is what Georgia fans do. You're having a nice civil conversation talking about football. They have to come out of nowhere and start throwing shade at Tennessee players. But what Georgia quarterback is even in this conversation? There isn't one, okay? Like, they don't have quarterbacks that's even close to this conversation that's on this level. So they have to hate. That's 100% what this is coming from this Georgia fan. It's 100% hate.
Do you think
this is perfect?
Do you think, like Tully, that Peyton Manning is overrated?
I don't think Peyton Manning's overrated.
He's overrated.
Thank you, and thank you.
But I also think Tom Brady's the best to ever do it.
Yeah. We all agreed on that.
Yeah.
See?
This is something that I personally disagree with.
We both won.
How is Peyton overrated?
He's overrated this way. And if you ask,
I'm gonna get a drink.
A football fan, if you ask like a Kalo football fan, you mentioned Peyton Manning, and for some reason he's at the top of everyone's list. I think he's good. I think he left a couple on the table. He didn't throw the greatest ball.
You don't know college football, obviously.
No.
Hey, he don't know football, period. He's talking about Peyton didn't throw the greatest ball. That is such a casual take. And look, there's nothing wrong with being a casual fan, but it irks the hell out of me whenever these Georgia fans come in here talking about stuff. They have no idea what they're talking about.
He was overrated in college.
Wait.
He was overrated in college.
When I moved here in the years, like I said, 96, and I was here during the Peyton Manning years.
You're right there.
So
for 2 years.
They were winning. That's great.
But they didn't win a championship until he left.
This is the next year with T. Martin. Yeah, but he got things rolling.
Team, except different quarterback.
He got things rolling. Now, it's a bounce of a ball. It's different calls. I mean,
Let me see that football. Here. My favorite Peyton Manning spiral. not that means anything.
For those of you listening, it was perfect.
If it's accurate, is all that matters.
Now, I do miss the Peyton Brady matchups. I miss those. But I think everybody's, Peyton Manning. No, I don't know. I think he's great quarterback, but not as great as everyone automatically thinks he is.
I think the reason why most people appreciated him was he was really a guy that at the line of scrimmage was doing things that not a lot of quarterbacks were doing. Like, there'd be a play that was called, and he had he was the offensive coordinator.
Right.
I mean, he would go, he'd look at the defense, everyone does the Omaha, but he was doing everything. He's checking the front, and Tom was doing all these guys do it, but to the level that Peyton was doing it, it was basically like, who has the chalk last? The defense is moving around. He's seeing it. A lot of guys, they get the call, the defense moves around, and they just kind of go with the call. With Peyton, you could never do that because he would always get, safety's coming down late, check, check, check. Like he would always get into the right play. And I mean,
so these are facts. This is coming from somebody who actually understands football. Like you can always tell that difference with the conversation. But yes, it's so true that Peyton Manning was the offense. Like he was the quarterback. He was also the offensive coordinator because they did what I used to like to call the hurry up and wait, because they would run tempo. But at the line of scrimmage, Peyton is checking and changing everything. He'd get them into the perfect play every single time. Now, way back in the day, like back in the 70s and 60s, and those in that area, quarterbacks would do some of the same stuff. Like they would call their own plays. You don't see too much of that in like modern day football, but also it was super simple. Most of the time they were running the ball, but doing it in this modern era where you can do anything, that was huge for Peyton to be able to do that. First one that I've seen doing it. Really, he's the only one that I've ever seen doing it on that level. And if you also look at like Peyton's team, he was the #1 overall draft pick by the Colts. And I mean, their team sucked. They had no talent. Peyton never really took any pay cuts. So he never really had much talent. Yes, there are some Hall of Fame players that played with Peyton, but it's nothing like Tom Brady's teams. Really, Peyton only had those years when he played with the Broncos. That was the only time that his teams were loaded, and his teammates were taking pay cuts to help him win a Super Bowl title. But with Brady, every single team that he ever played for, they were all loaded. They always had, a top 5 offensive line. They always had a top 5 defense and a top 5 running game. Well, there's not much left for Brady to have to do. And if y'all really want to break this stuff down, you could go in, look at the playoff numbers from Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. In most of those seasons, now I'm talking about Peyton in his prime, he was everything. He was doing everything for his team. For Brady, it was nothing like that. So I think that he benefited from being in a great system, because football, it's not like basketball where people get into this GOAT talk. I think that started with basketball with Michael Jordan. You know that for basketball, you're at least one player is going to be at least 20% of their team. Football, I mean, there's so many different players playing, and you need everybody. You need a really good front office, good coaching staff, all of that. It's rare that one person makes that big of an impact. But Peyton, I would say that he was, close to 50% of those teams that he was on. He just never really had too much help. So I think that, he holds more weight for me personally, just as far as being one of the best quarterbacks of all time. I would personally put him over Brady. It's not just about those rings, because like I said, you need so much help playing football to be able to win championships, right? But really Peyton kind of was able to do it almost by himself. I think he's the closest one to being able to do that outside of, I'd say, Aaron Rodgers and also Pat Mahomes. Those two quarterbacks, they did a lot of things pretty much, in some seasons without pretty much any help. So to me, that's my top 3 quarterbacks.
His leadership, what a great teammate he was. I mean, when you say he's overrated, I'm trying to say, you don't think, what is overrated? Is he looked at as one of the top 5 best of all time?
What I was saying was, I think he's a great quarterback. But it feels like when I ask people, okay, who's the best quarterback? They just automatically say Peyton Manning.
Oh, okay.
Which he's down there. He's down on the list for me.
Who you got above him?
Brady's the GOAT. We know that. We all agree on that.
Sure.
Yeah. Montana.
Joe Montana.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, y'all, with Joe Montana, I really like his game, but understand that he played in that West Coast offense back in the 80s when it was new. No one knew how to stop it. That's the best offensive system of all time. There's not an offensive system these days that doesn't have wrinkles from that West Coast offense. Modern day defenses and structures and all of that changed from that West Coast offense. And he also played with arguably the greatest player of all time, Jerry Rice. I put him way up there. These teams didn't know how to stop it. So he was able to win several Super Bowl, championships from that standpoint. He also had just juggernaut roster. So I'm not saying that he's a bad quarterback. I'm not saying that Brady was a bad quarterback. I think that they're both really, really good. But if you're building a team with players from their prime, this is the way that I like to look at GOATs. I would say that they're not, I wouldn't even be looking at them. I would say that the top 3 that I had just named previously, and I would also throw Elway, I'd throw Dan into that mix. Guys who are making things happen and they don't really need a whole lot of help. That's who I'm starting my, teams with.
Yeah. I mean, I like the Brett Favres. the gamers.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if he's better, but I mean, Peyton's up there. He's
to sit here and say that Brett Favre is over Peyton Manning is just, it's crazy. Like this is pure hate.
in the top 10. Is he 5? Kirk, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm trying to think who. I mean, Dan Marino, John Elway.
I love
Those guys
I
come
love
back.
Marino. Marino never won.
Mahomes. I mean, even though he's still in his career,
Well,
Mahomes is doing some crazy things.
I mean, Mahomes.
Nico from Tennessee, quarterback. Do you think he made a good decision for his career? And do you think Joey Aguilar would be a kind of a somewhat good trade for Tennessee this season?
I'm going to wait to see. He's going into a great system. I mean, Josh puts the quarterback in Josh Heupel puts the quarterback in a spot to be successful with the system that they run. So I wouldn't be shocked to see him do well. And also he's going in with, I don't want to say nothing to lose, but the expectations are always high at Tennessee, but they're going to be in his corner. That fan base is going to be in his corner after Nico kind of left him the way he did. I don't know the true story. I've heard different stories. Some people thought it was about money. I've heard from close sources it was more about Nico's dad going to Josh back in December before they played Ohio State. Like, hey, listen, you got to get better at offensive line and better at receiver. You got to get better around him if you want us to stick around, which blows my mind that.
Okay, so stopping it here. So number one, it sounds like Kirk feels like Joey Aguilar can come into Tennessee's system and do well. And the more that I've been watching different quarterbacks and things like that, the more that I have an understanding that Coach Heupel and Coach Halsley, just as far as being quarterback coaches, teaching fundamentals and things like that, it's the best in the whole country. Nobody else's quarterbacks operate how our quarterbacks do. Like their fundamentals and everything, it's pretty much perfect. So that's something that I think Joey Aguilar kind of struggled with previously. He's going to take major steps forward, but also with Tennessee's system, and we've covered this several times, in 2021, 2022, totally different picture in our offensive system flourished based off of the pictures that defenses gave to us. But 2023 and even more so in 2024, they changed it up. And we even listened to Coach Heupel at the SEC Media Days pointing that out too. So if Joey Aguilar or maybe even any other quarterback had to come into this system last year, I don't think that they would have done, they probably would have done just as well as Nico, if not worse. There weren't very many opportunities, and I know that there were some times when players were running wide open. That happens in any single system over the course of a year. That is going to happen. But if you look at the numbers from 24 versus 22, with players just running wide open, it's not even close to being the same. It's like nowhere near it. So saying all those things just to say that Coach Heupel, he had to get some offensive changes, which I think that's really what Nico's dad was probably speaking more to. We also covered that at that time, that sounded like Nico's camp. They went to the coaching staff and said, hey, we do need more talent. The offensive line wasn't great last year. We all know that, especially Tennessee's tackles. But also, with Tennessee's scheme, that wasn't, it was just very tough for us to operate it. So some of the different wrinkles and changes with running some more pistol, different route combinations, and a lot of that stuff is what Joey Aguilar did previously. So we have a very easy system, that just like the base of it, that he can come in, learn very quickly. But then we also have a new wrinkle, new system that he's also run previously at a very, very high level. So I think that he's going to do perfectly fine for Tennessee in 2025. But also going back to the, Tennessee needs some more talent from 2024 to 2025. That is true. I mean, our wide receivers didn't do much, and we've kind of looked at those numbers. Y'all can see the yards after the catch wasn't great. I really put more of that on Tennessee's scheme because the wide receivers had nowhere to run after the catch. So that scheme change, that's the biggest difference. And I feel comfortable with Joey Aguilar, Merck, GMAC, any of those guys operating this system at a high level just because they're going to get totally different pictures. So I think that's something that we should feel confident with. But let me also say this here, y'all, just very, very quickly. I've been on record as saying that I disagree with the way that Nico's camp, his team, handled things. And it's not like they're the only camp that did things the way that Nico has, or, I've heard that Nico did it. I know for sure some other players, that their camp handled things very, very similarly. But yes, I disagree with what he did, or maybe how he did it. But to say that Tennessee didn't need to make some changes, that's just not true. And I'm curious would Coach Heupel have still made those changes if Nico and his camp didn't come to him asking for him, because that honestly, that really is going to end up benefiting Tennessee so much in 2025. So that's something that most people aren't too much talking about. But let's finish up with what they have to say.
A college quarterback's dad would do that to a head coach. And I think at the end of the day, when they got into spring ball, it was still more of you haven't brought people in to make him and this offense better. Again, I don't know if that's true, but that's what I was hearing. So I don't think it was necessarily about the money. I think it was more about, is Nico going to be able to play well enough to eventually be a first pick in the draft with the players that they had around him? That's disgusting to me if that's true. Right. I wouldn't expect Drake May to go to Mike Vrabel, or Drake May's dad to go to Mike Vrabel in the NFL and say, hey, listen, you guys are doing a shitty job.
Jake would never do that.
But think about that. In the NFL, you wouldn't do that. And a college parent is doing that, if that's true. It's mind-boggling that that's where we are right now, that a Josh Heupel has to actually listen to a parent and feel threatened that his starting freshman quarterback might leave because he hasn't done what the dad asked. Blows my mind if that's in fact true.
So let me go on ahead and call BS on Kirk, because he does, man. He tends to get on these like little rants and all of that about this mindset or whatever that he wants to push, this like narrative. But let me tell y'all, and I think that if you followed pro sports long enough, you understand that NFL players go to the front office, go to the coaching staff, whoever, and ask for, hey, we need to upgrade talent in these spots. That happens all the time, especially with quarterbacks. So that is just totally false. Now, maybe what he meant with Drake May is that he's still young, and maybe also the correlation of having your father or your parent, guardian, whoever coming in and talking to the staff, talking to the front office about making these changes. Yeah, maybe that's sort of a bad look, but also understand that those are grown people, and versus in college, these are typically kids. Some of them are grown, but these are kids. So yeah, your parents are going to have to speak up for you. Now, I think that Nico could have had some better, he needed a real agent that would have helped out with this entire situation. But for Kirk to sit up here and act like this is something that doesn't go on in pro sports, that's laughable, because that's totally not true. Doesn't mean that I feel like the way that Nico's camp handled things is correct, but this is just a bold-faced lie coming from Kirk Herbstreit.
So he ended up leaving. I think a lot of people thought he'd go to Oregon, all these big places, and he ends up at UCLA, more closer to home for him. So wish him the best, see if it works out there at UCLA. But I think that story was incredibly strange and speaks volumes about kind of the times that we're in right now in this sport. But I'm fired up to see what Tennessee does this year, because they're kind of in an underdog role after you lose your franchise quarterback like that overnight. Yeah. So I think we're all excited to kind of see who they are and what Josh does, because he's a great coach, what he does to kind of come up with answers to win games this year.
I want to see if you can help settle a.
Hold on, my bad. All right, so let's pause it here. So that's everything. So number one, Kirk also goes on to say that Nico ends up basically going to like a lesser program, which is definitely true. But let's not get it twisted, because I've seen a lot of people saying this. If Nico's camp, if he had an agent that knew what they were doing, if you weren't happy, then you should have left in that winter window. And if they did that, he could have gone to any program in the country, not named Texas and not named Georgia. I just don't think that he's the type of quarterback that Kirby Smart wants. But Texas has Arch Manning, but he could have gone anywhere else. Just like Tennessee would have had quarterbacks beating down the door to come play for us too. It was the timing of it. Like, you can't come in that spring window and think that you're going to come in and take over, this program unless you're in a really bad situation. I think that it actually just really the whole thing could end up working out very well for Tennessee, because like we said, Tennessee already started to implement some scheme changes. It just so happens to be something that Joey has done previously. He's done it for the past couple of seasons. I think that he operates that pistol and that entire offense very, very well. And I also think that he's going to be able to come in and learn this new system with Tennessee's base system very quickly. I think that he has the skills to be able to operate that well. So with some of the different wrinkles and all of that, having a quarterback that seems very humble, wants to maybe go on to that next level, has a good opportunity to do it on the biggest stage, I think that he's going to be fired up for it. So he gets to take a step up in a system that should be very friendly to him. And then Nico has to take that step back. And we've seen him on social media pretty much daily posting Tennessee stuff, because we know that Nico, or at least I'm just going to speculate, I feel like Nico wishes that he could have, stayed here. If it wasn't for his team, messing things up, Nico would probably still be playing here for Tennessee. But things are what they are. Those are my thoughts, and I would love to hear y'all's down in that comment section. But as always, y'all please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be talking to y'all later on. Thanks. Peace. Thanks for watching, and please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel because that keeps us growing inside of the YouTube algorithm. And if you did like this video, here's another one that you might also enjoy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.